Who's seen this?
They have read the book, right?
What is this?
The one thing.
The what? Thank you, thank you. Alright, I'm talking a little about this, I look at it every year, I can tell you, the one thing book changed my life, I was kind of in a spinning wheel. And I read this book, I was like, oh, this is how you do success, this is how you be successful, I think all of us came into real estate to be successful, right? You're like, how do I be really successful? And I said, oh, here's a book on how to be successful. And it's changed a lot of my life, I can tell you, and I wanted to bring it now. We are in July, early July, how many of you are on pace for your real estate goals? Wow. This means raise your hand if you're on pace for your real estate goals that you set at the beginning of the year. None of you, right? Oh, Penny?
More things.
Okay. Look at that, okay. If you're not on pace, then something has to change, right? So, and I want you to understand that success, there is a pathway to have success. There's a pathway to meet achievements. And right now in July is a perfect time to change what you're doing going forward. I can tell you, I hope they drop the rates, but if they don't drop the rates, I can tell you third and fourth quarter are going to be pretty rough on the transaction sales, right? As we get seasonal, think about it. Winter we always get down, we go down in sales season and seasonally anyways. And then if we have a high rate market at the same time, it's going to be really bad. So if you guys are behind goals, just know the market is going to get harder as we go. So that means if you're behind goals, you need to double down. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we go about doing that. So what is important about this shape? You know, what is about this image that's important? Listen to this.
What's nice is a coordinating transports the different levels, the domino, and also the first.
All right, so they literally studied, they said, if you took a domino and you doubled the size of the domino each time, and you pushed that first domino, it would have enough force to knock over the next domino and similarly all the way up. In fact, you at 18 dominoes and then the entire piece of it would grow to that. Eiffel Tower, Mount Everest at 31 dominoes and 57 dominoes, it would be at the moon. And this is how success works. And I want you to understand this because a lot of people don't do this correctly. And the point of this is success is sequential, not multiple. What's that mean is a lot of people try to do a lot of things to find success. I'm going to do these 5 things to do success. And the problem is you end up sucking at all 5 things.
Yeah.
You end up sucking at all 5 things.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And the people that are highly successful, they pick one thing and they knock down the dominoes and they only work on that domino till the next domino comes and they work only on that domino till the next domino comes. And I want to tell you that because I hear people all the time, I'm going to be a millionaire. I need 7 streams of income. I go, you need to do one thing. And if you do one thing a lot, you'll end up with 7 streams of income. But if you fight for 7 streams of income, you're gonna end up sucking at all of it, right? And you're not gonna get this. So remember, success is sequential. That means you can't do the next thing. And too many people says, here, I hear it all the time. John, I want to flip homes. And they're like trying to get to this domino right here, right? And then I'm like, do you have any money? No. Have you done, how much have you sold? Not much. Okay. Well, the skills, the experience you need that you have to learn here is going to help you here, but you can't go to there without knowing these mistakes and skills. And you're going to have to go and learn those things before you do that. You're going to have to earn the money. You're going to have to learn how to be consistent to earn money, right? So just understand sequence is important to success. So what's this one? 80-20. Anyone know this concept? Dexter, what does it say?
That 20% of the people do business.
Yeah, this translates across the world. Yeah, so it's 80-20.
Actually, it's more like 10%.
It's more like 9-10 now. Yeah, exactly. So there's a concept that says no matter what industry you look at, this guy, the guy who made this is the economist, an Italian economist back in the 1800s, and he looked at all the landowners in Italy, and he realized 80% of land was owned by 20% of people. And then you look at wealth, you look at real estate, 20%, and like he's saying maybe 10%, but 20% of the agents do 80% of the sales. And 80% of agents are fighting over the scraps, basically, is what happens. And if you look at this concept, it goes across all industries, everything in their life, you can look at it. And I want you to understand that right now in your real estate business, 20% of what you do actually matters. And I would argue the only 20%, if you don't have enough leads, the only issue you have is really lead generation. Because that is your 20% if you don't have enough leads, honestly, because that should be your 20%. And I guarantee if you focus nothing but lead generation and you did nothing but your transaction stuff in the evening, when you went home and worked at home and did it in the evening, I guarantee you would get a mega business going right away. But what a lot of you do is focus on the 80%. You want to do the transactions as a way to get away from actually doing the lead gen, right? So.
You can correlate that too, is that if you had 10 buyers, 10 listings, only 20% of them close. So you always gotta make sure you still play those numbers in your numbers.
Future numbers. Okay, so if we take this is how people usually do it. They do a task list. I gotta send that CMA. I gotta write that offer. I gotta do that request for repair. I gotta, all those things you guys are talking about, I gotta call that lead back. I gotta get my open house leads. And you put a list together. And guess what most people do? They just do stuff that is easy. And because the 80% is easy. And then they don't do what they should do, which is generate leads. So if it's an 80-20 world, then we should take 20% of what we do actually matters in life for success. And you actually should do those 20%. And people ask me, John, how do you have so many hats and you wear those things? You know why? Because whatever business I'm overseeing, I oversee it. I look at what's the 20%. I use the Lord, what's the 10%? What's the one thing I have to do in that business to make it go forward? And I don't do anything else. I delegate everything else. I just say, I do that one part only. And that's how you get multiple. You want to get multiple, and when we talk multiple streams of incomes, you realize what's your 20%? I do only that, and I hire everything else out. And then I can have multiple businesses, because if I do 20% here, 20% here, 20% here, that may be a full-time day, but I'm running 3 businesses doing, right? Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll add too, sorry, I listen to the podcast every day, so this morning I had a great one on income and stuff.
Yeah.
But just like you mentioned, John has multiple lines of income, you can say, reason being because his first line that he focused on was to really get at one thing, and then after that, you then diversify to the additional income streams. Same thing with all these major motivational stuff,
Up a little louder. Yeah, here's the back here.
So I'm saying that John is so good at multiple things because he initially started focusing on one thing and then he diversified and built upon that. So are a lot of these great talkers, Tony Robbins, all these people that are big people have multiple income streams, they focus on one thing and then they diversify after the fact on getting good at that one thing first.
Correct. So I got good at real estate sales. I had money. I ended up going to doing a flip syndication company because I was during the recession, and a lot of my clients were investors and they wanted to flip. And so I said, then I learned how to flip. That flipping also turned into a property management company because some people didn't want to flip, they wanted to buy and hold. So they bought and hold with me and they wanted to manage it because they're not here, right? Does it make sense? And so my ultimate income stream was in the pursuit of more real estate sales. Does it make sense happen? So I want you to understand is that's what success is not sequential. It's not multiple, it's sequential. It's one at a time. You need to get good at one thing. And most of you struggle with just getting good at one thing because you're trying to do other things. And maybe you're not even doing that. You're trying to do crypto on the side and you're trying to do all this other stuff to get rich. And I tell the people like, John, give me your money, I'll give you crypto, invest in me. And I'm like, no, I have people throw opportunity to me all the time. And I said, I don't want that because my money's made here. Like I know where my money is, I know how to make money here, and I do it here, right? I don't need your stuff. I don't need to go wide. I go small, right? So, all right. Oops, let's go back. In fact, the one thing I ask you, there's a concept saying we don't even need 20% of your activities actually to make your life super simple. Who would like a less chaotic life? How about you? I'm consistently fighting for less chaos in my life. I don't know about you. I fight at hard. And the real way you find lack of chaos in your life is you take the 80-20 Pareto principle and you go extreme on it. And what you do is you do one thing. That's what it's called, one thing. In fact, if you took everything in your life and you did one thing, you could fix just about anything in your life. So I'll give you an example. In my pursuit, before I read this book, actually right as it came out, I had started a lot of my business, and every year I was doing about 30 transactions, which is great for a lot of agents, but for me, when you're stuck at 30, you do 30, and then you do 29, and then you do 31, and every year I'm gonna say, I'm gonna do 50, I'm gonna do all this more. And you get stuck there, it gets really frustrating if you do it 5 years in a row. And each year I was just compensating by putting more effort in, whether I work more hours, try harder, yada, yada, yada. And what happened was, by the end of this, my wife's like, hey, I never see you. Our marriage is getting rocky because he's like, yo, we have kids, the whole 9 years. And I was like overworking it. And I realized I went and said, hey. I started to coach, I started to realize I needed a coach, so I got a coach at the time. I said, I need to fix my marriage, because this is not going well. And I said, and then she's like, well, let's take this one thing, let's do one thing. If you don't have a bunch of time right now, we can fix that over time, but right now, let's do one thing. So what's the one thing? Do date nights twice a month. I said, and I started doing, and I said, let's go on, we can get away once a quarter. Okay, I started doing that. I did one thing at a time. And then finally I was like, be home by 6:30 and turn off my phone, don't answer the phone. You know, and literally those simple one things changed my whole, it wasn't like I had to be more, affectionate, more romantic, none of those things. Just setting the priority, and literally that's a relationship. And that's funny, I know people laugh, but literally the 80-20% applies to your spousal relationship where you're a significant other. Literally, there's 20% of what you do in your relationship with your significant other spouse that really matters, and the rest doesn't matter at all, pretty much. And if you just only that 20%, guess what? You can have an awesome marriage and still only do 20% of what you thought you needed to do. Honest. And that's what I want you to understand is take this Pareto principle in your life. It applies to everything in your life. Anything in your life that is not going right, finances, and actually we'll go over those sections, all those things will change if you can understand. If you can really think about it and get down to the one thing I need to do in that to be better. And I say keep it super simple. We're gonna talk about that a little bit. So, all right, this is another myth I want you to dispel is multitasking. Who's a great multitasker? Oh, you guys are all. But it's a trick. But studies have shown if you are constantly distracted, you will be poorly. You'll be poor in productivity, basically. And the people that just focus and not go to distractions, they'll finish a lot of work. So, how many of you have recently went on vacation? How many of you had deals going on and things going on, and you just slammed it out the day before to make sure that it was done before you got on vacation? All right. How productive were you the day before mid-vacation? Major. You're like, I need to get this done. I don't care who calls me or who walks in, who's like, I'm getting this done, right? Laser focused, right? And imagine you had that all the time, every day. In fact, I would contend if I took 20% of your day, what's that? How many hours are you awake? 16? Approximately. Okay, 10% is 1.6 hours, 20% is 3 hours. If you had 3 hours of that laser focused, distraction free a day on the one thing, how would your life go? How would your life go? Probably less smooth. You want less chaotic, right? Less chaotic, more simple. Do you understand? And I'm trying to teach you these concepts because this is how you get simplicity. It looks like it's chaotic around you, but you're feeling calm and simplistic in your world. Because if you dedicated a laser focused, distraction free environment for 2 to 3 hours a day, you would find tremendous success. And actually, when I ran my real estate team, literally, we started script practice at 8:45, 9 o'clock, we got on the phones, we called for 2 hours till 11 o'clock, and 11:12 we did follow-up, which is emails and CNAs and whatever we had to do, right? I didn't even let them get on their email during the 9 to 11 o'clock. They had to close their email. They couldn't send an email till 11 o'clock. Why? Because I wanted to direct. And then I turned in from doing 30s with a team, I'm doing 70 deals, 67. I just doubled the deals because I did focus. So I want to ask you, what distracts you in your life? You're sitting at home, you're sitting in your office. I don't know where you are. Who comes in and knocks on your door? Do you get hungry? Do you get thirsty? I know a lot of you are like, I'm thirsty. I'm going to go over to the kitchen. And then I'm going to spend 30 minutes talking to people.
So sarcastic.
No, I was like, if you know that, I'm a drinker. Like I have to have a drink, otherwise I would get up and get something. So I literally I have a cup and I fill it up before I do it. And I stay there because I know I need that, right? So you just need to understand what was going to prevent you from getting distractions. Okay. Okay. How people look at you, how you show up to other people. What I mean is, if you were to pass away tomorrow, heaven forbid, and people are speaking at your eulogy, your funeral, and they're saying this about you, are they going to say things about you that you actually want out there? And what I'm going to say is, our choices literally define who we are. Our choices every day define who we are. And those choices we make define who we are. How fat we are, how skinny we are, how in shape we are, how much business we do. All those things are defined by choices we make daily. And the problem is that successful people understand that I need to do the one thing choice habits. I need to do these things every day and make it a habit, the good stuff. And I can tell you, most of you, I can contend that you are 2 to 3, maybe 1, at most 4 habits away from just changing 1 habit, 2 habits, 3 habits, 4 habits in your life from going from where you are to high success. Honestly, it's not that hard. Building a habit is hard. And we've done studies, it takes about 66 days to develop a simple habit. It takes a longer, 120 days if this is the approximate if you have to do a complex habit. So I do things super simple, like I can do an example right now. I wanted to be more healthy, so I signed up with Tony Robbins Life Force, which is awesome, but it's costly, so don't do it if they don't have money. It is expensive. But literally, I have to take like 20 pills now to do this stuff. It's crazy. Like I have a pill kit, I don't even know. It's crazy. And what? And you do all this stuff, and then I'm supposed to diet and exercise. Does that make sense? And I'm like, I have a counselor, I'm like, lady, I have a coach, I'm like, I appreciate that, but I only do 1 habit at a time. So, and we have to check, we do a health check every quarter. So for this quarter, I'm not even worrying about diet and exercise, I'm just worrying about doing my pills after, because this is freaking hard. Like I have to take pills at morning, after this, while I eat lunch, at dinner, like when I go to bed, it's like crazy, right? So it took me literally 66 to 90 days to get good at taking my pills. And I know myself, I don't like dieting. I like to eat. I love my food. So the only time I will diet properly is if I exercise. I know myself. If I exercise, then I'll feel better about dieting because I'm like, I just exercise. I don't want to blow my exercise just because I eat poorly, right? So I know. So this quarter, I told her I'm going to work on consistently exercising. Then next quarter, I'll work on dieting. She's like, really? I was like, I'm a simple guy. I just do one thing at a time. Literally, and I have been super consistent on exercising this quarter. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to understand these habits. There's only a few things you need to do in your life to really change yourself. Wow, those. Okay, there's another minute. That you have willpower throughout the day. Do we not agree that lead generation is simple but hard? No one likes to pick up the phone and say, I'm going to call people and get a bunch of no's. Right? So, but what happens is, in the morning, you have a bunch of willpower when you wake up and eat your breakfast. And then by lunchtime, it kind of goes down. And then you get a little bump up at lunchtime. Well, depending what you eat. If you go have extra food, you're not gonna bump. So but if you have a good lunch, you'll actually get a bump. It actually won't go to the same level that you were at the morning, but it will come up and then it'll wane into the afternoon. And how many by the end of the day are just done? Like you may have a list of things to do, but I don't care. You sat for 30 minutes and you were supposed to work on it and nothing got done. I'm talking about that, right? So that's called willpower. And the myth is that you all think you have willpower throughout the day. And what happens is a lot of you say, oh, Legion's tough, I'll just do it in the afternoon. I'll just do it in the afternoon. I'll just do it in the afternoon. Actually, you want to know how this? Rich, you don't want this one. Rich, he started trying to do his lead gen in the afternoon because he would contact more people because more people are back at work and people get more confidence. But I'm living in the office next to him and I'm like, dude, where are you? I haven't seen you the last 3 days. Are you lead genning? He's like, oh, I just got distracted. And so that Monday money maker call was literally him trying to be like, I realize my willpower is better here. I just need to call here. And then not only that, I'm gonna tell people I'm going to be here and ask people to join me just so that I'm consistent and I do it here. You understand? That's him recognizing his willpower and where he needs to go. He knows it's less effective if he calls here, but he knows his willpower is light there to actually do the work. You understand? Okay. So there's ways you can structure when you do your one thing, structure it appropriately during the day.
Powerful.
How many of you want work-life balance? How many of you want work-life balance to look like this? Like I got my work, I got my life, and everything's driving me. Right? We all dream about this, right? That's not reality. It more looks like that, actually, so. Makes sense? And that's real. There's a myth that we can have a work-life balance, and especially on the woman's side, when you've got kids, to be a mom and a great mom and do a great career and all this stuff and have this balance, and it's just not that way. And what I tell people is there are times you're going to have to lean in on the life side, and there's times that you're gonna have to lean in on the business side hard, and the other side will suffer. But the more you understand that, the better you can have the relationships around you. And so when my kids were young, my wife had to work, and I was a real estate agent. I said, I can be at home, I can take them to all the stuff I can do. I literally stayed at home. I was more like there. I did transactions, but and not at the level that I probably could do, but I did transactions because I was leaning in more to the one. Our kids gone to school, I'm leaning back. When I became team leader, I told my wife, she's like, how long do you do this? I'm gonna have to lean in hard. There's a lot of things I have to fix. It's probably gonna take 3 to 4 years to fix it. Long term, I have to lean in, and I'm gonna put in a lot of hours. But we had a discussion before I even took the position about this, because I was asking to lean into the work side, right? And I was gonna suck at the home side. But the fact that we understood this made our relationship better. I didn't go bad because I was working long hours, because she understood where I was in my life. That makes sense? And part of this going to OP, being OP is a little bit less stressful than less demanding than the team leader life, although. So I'm leaning back and she's going hard on business. Does it make sense? And we're so balanced on this understanding that literally, she signed a 7-year lease in her office, which I helped her, and literally we had to extend the lease on here, so I'm signing a 7-year extension here. And literally they're lining up about the same time. So I said, we're kind of balancing even sooner. So you understand that life isn't always going to be balanced. You do have to lean in, and the more you and the relationships around you that are impacted by your works, things like understand that, the better you guys will work together, and they'll be smoother, less chaotic. The relationships will be less chaotic, right? So just go fast here. Hold on. Okay, so what's your one thing? What's the one question? I need to close this up. What's the one question? Can anyone know? What's the one thing question?
What's the one thing you could do that would make everything easier?
What's the one thing I can do such by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Now, I want you to understand this question is very important. This is the fundamental crux of doing everything I just talked about. Is how do I know what my one thing is? And what I'm going to tell you is, such by doing that, everything becomes easier or unnecessary. That means this task, whatever you're doing, makes everything else in your world easier, or takes some of the 80% off your plate. Does that make sense? So, and then you do it in each of these areas. And I'd say keep it super simple. Super simple. Like, I'm gonna make sure I just take my pills appropriately. Like, super simple. You don't want anything that's super big, because you're not gonna be able to do it, like, unless you're just highly focused on it. But I would say keep it simple. So think about this. What's the one thing for your business or your job right now you could do? What's the one thing that if you did that, everything else doesn't matter? You have success. Everything does.
Just did it right now.
What?
We just hired an assistant. Yeah,
Yeah.
finally.
So paying my assistant is like, I need my job to be 20%. And he needs an assistant because he likes getting stuck in the 80%. Right? And it's like, I need my business to grow, and he knows what's my one thing? I need to learn to live in the 20%, and I need to hand off my 80%. Right? So that's sometimes leverage, right? What about relationships? What's the one thing you can do so by doing that everything else becomes easier in your relationship? Think about your spousal relationships or your significant others. Is there things about the relationship you want to change, improve? You want the dynamic to change. And if you really start asking yourself, and I would say ask yourself this question 3-4 times, really go deep. If you go deep enough, you're going to find yourself getting to an answer that's very simple. If the answer you're giving yourself when you answer this question is a lot of words, it's like a big sentence, it's not deep enough. You need to ask it again. Okay, if I assume that answer, if I ask that question to that answer again, what would I get? And keep going deep, you'll get to a simple thing. And I can tell you, when I'm lost, when my life is chaotic, when I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, I'm stuck in the weeds. Everything's not going the way I want in life. Financially, it's we're negative. My relationships are not strong because it's causing all this anxiety, stress. All this stuff is happening. My kids are going sideways. Oh, just they go sideways. So, I ask myself this, and I know this from habit. I say, what's the one thing? Such by doing that, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. And whatever that part of my life that is struggling with, I keep asking myself that question, that question, that question, and you will get to an answer. And then what you need to do is just do that. Just do that. Don't worry about all this. There's other stuff that you'll be like, well, that. Don't worry about that. Do that. And if you do that, I guarantee your life will start looking more successful all the way around. Because think about it, even if you got one of these things right, you did one of the one things right, it will improve everything else in your life. If Penny got his job right, is his business going to be better? Then you can spend more on your go more vacations. Right? Improve relationships, improve either personal life. Your personal life, like, hey, I can pay for more things, right? I can do more vacations. That gym I wanted, I can go. Your physical health, you're gonna have more time if you're just doing one thing. Your life becomes simple, right? If you're saying I'm gonna do more business, but I'm gonna do only 20% of what I'm gonna do previously, that means you have 80% of your time theoretically open. I can do more things. Make sense? So yeah.
What's nice about all these, we look at it as like last balls, rubber balls.
Yeah.
Work is rubber ball, always gonna bounce back.
Yeah.
The other items are glass ball, which is great.
This and even this, you can draw and still get it back. Key relationships, even spiritual, but key relationships and sometimes physical health, it's hard to come back from. You can come back from a lot of it, but if you do permanent damage, it's hard, right? So you have to understand there's some things that are more important than others that you get right on the circle. We're a little over. What are ahas? Any ahas you guys have?
I would say there's one line you can reframe legal from this class. It's what's the one thing you could do in the next 90 days to make everything else easier or irrelevant?
Irrelevant. That means irrelevant. I want you to understand that. That means if I do this thing, this mess in my life goes away. It's gone. Permanently gone. What would be your aha? So yeah, excellent.
Also, sorry, one more thing I said, Alex and John, I love whenever you talk and I'm teaching the next day, we're all on that same mind. So tomorrow, my class, which I was already thinking, but John kind of just nailed it for me. Tomorrow, I'm gonna do a workshop. It's clarity reset worksheet. Get unstuck by get moving. This is all based upon the one thing because I was this podcast and it connected me to teach my class tomorrow on this.
So yeah, if you don't have the skill to say, what's my one thing? I asked this question and I confused on my answers. I want to put in ChatGPT and tell me the answer. If that's where you are.
Yeah.
Then you need to go to this class because he's going to teach you how to like get clarity around this answer, right? When I ask this question, how do I get clarity? What do I need to do for the next 90 days? Excellent. And another aha. Go ahead, aha.
My aha is I need to reread this book. I can get realigned with priorities.
And I love this book so much. And this is why I do it. It's once a year I reread the book just because I want to keep that focus, right? That focus.
There's a podcast that they release an episode every week that listening to.
Yes, it's amazing.
And the MRE podcast too.
One more aha. Where we go? Lindsay, what you like?
What keeps sticking in my head is, when you said every problem you have, if you get stuck in any situation, just keep repeating to yourself, what's the one thing that I could do that will make everything else irrelevant?
Right.
And that there is all these other things you could do, but just
What's the
focus
one
on the
thing?
one thing.
What's the one thing?
And that just keeps replaying in my head, just standing here the whole time. So I think that could be a really useful tool just in life in general, especially.
That's what I said, like,
Especially for me, who gets caught up in like the million things that there needs to be done, and just like channeling down, funneling it down to just the one thing to start there.
Start there. And that's where we talk about less chaos, simplicity in my life, is when you start asking yourself this question, it will lead itself to simplicity. It will make you get away from the 80% and make you do the one thing. Does it make sense? And then your life is simple. And then you build on it. We talked about the dollar system. I do one thing, and once you do it like 90 days, 120 days, suddenly it becomes easy. I got the effect. It eliminated this. Then you're gonna have a world where, well, I really like to get rid of this problem too. And then that's the next domino, right? Okay, I already have this habit. I'm gonna do a new habit, and I'm gonna get rid of that. And that's how you build success. You can go very fast if you just adhere to this question. You hear this question, success will happen very quickly for you. I guarantee, and I would say within 2 to 3 years, if you do this highly, you will have great success. And I can tell you, my wife and I always had a good business stuff. We had this great home in West Sac, and literally we got on this, said, let's do this. I talked to my wife and I convinced my wife. She thinks this is all that kind of Kool-Aid anyway, so she's like, but as she's come along, she's kind of adopted this. So, but we talked about one thing because I loved it so much, and she read it as at my request, and we started doing this, and we started going to get our finances right, and we paid off all our debt, set our mortgage debt, we had a house, and we were like, we love our budget, and then we're like, we had this great house, but we're like, the goals we wanted to be net worth $1 million in 3 years, literally in 3 years. That was our goal. We just got serious, and we just started trimming back our expenses, paying our debt down. We got both on the same page, and we even got to the point where we only had house expenses, but our house was big, so it was expensive. So we even decided to downsize. We literally went from 4,000 square feet down to 4,200 square feet to 2,600 square feet. Moved our whole family, 2 kids in with that, just to do that, just to reset our expenses more. Because we were on this goal. And literally, instead of 3 years, in 2 years, we were net worth $1 million. In 3 years, we were net worth $2 million. Makes sense? Because we followed this to a T. And I want you to understand the power of it is, it's not like, oh, this is a lifetime thing. This is honestly, like if you did this for 5 years, you could be everything you dream about right now, you want your life can happen in 5 years, probably if you did this, if you were just with this. So
Would you say clarity is a decision, not something you wait for?
yeah. That's the best part of it. Most of you are looking for the circumstances around you to line up to give you the motivation and feeling to be successful. And it doesn't happen that way. It happens is you make a decision to be successful. And trust me, you do it a few days in a row, you get a week behind your thing, and then you will start feeling the motivation. Literally. So that's another myth that people think that I need the feelings to show up me, and the real myth is like you need to make the feelings happen by doing the actions, making the decision. So all right, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for we went a little over, but I appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Thank you so much,
There's
Justin.
some lunch, have some lunch. We have a lot of sandwiches over there, so.
That's when I saw it, the numbers.
Yeah.
I was already got an idea. And then today, it's the podcast, we're already working on this, prior to this, we did a workshop this fall, how to get a separate.
Yeah, yeah. I love that.
We're, all this and see, bro.
Um,
I'm like, trying to talk about it. Yeah, so what goes, it's scared tomorrow.
Okay, no.
Disconnected.
What? Alright.
Yeah, I'll let me try to tease it out. What I recommend is email admin@kidsu.com.
Yes.
And say, hey, I'm trying to set up for our kid pricing discount.
Came on, Frank came out.
Because if it's not that guy, it's the kid. It's the kid. So you got a system, yeah, you should be making fun of yeah. Yeah.
Right, I can't stay chaos.
You see that, right? Like you see, like, just like you're saying, like, I'm not in the next domino, but this domino has to be solved, right? Like my residential will have to be 2% for my, if I'm gonna knock this down and then we pay a little bit, 20% there, right? That's really what you're saying. No, well, that's the same thing, 'cause I need to get residential to where I'll do 20% of it, and then I can do other things, right? Yeah.
So kind of threw me off since my.
You're living it, dude, you're living it. I love it.
Yes.
John.
I was thinking, I heard on this. And I had confidence in, so it feels like. Yeah, I'm not really the mindset. So.
Yeah. Have a little organization, man.
Yeah.
Some worries that it's kind of more like.
I have to do like my license, like I'm really listening to guys belong to something. Yeah, nice. Like, that's like you said, yeah.
So you know what? They.
On that flipping, wise on perfect.
Oh, you're right. That's what you do.
There's like some comments to get for. You already tried challenge. Everybody got you. And function like that. You want all this.
Oh, or she. It's turning her body. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna go on that.
Yes, I do.
Hi, I'm Linda.
Nice to meet you.
I wear many hats here.
Yes.
I'm also an agent, so I'm John's assistant. I help him with his property management company, commercial business, property management, yeah. And I've been doing photography for 15 years. So it's just another way. How's that? They come in and he goes, do you wanna do it now? Or do you wanna eat?
Yeah,
first?
I'm kind of okay. We're probably gonna water, oh, thank you so much. I guess, what do you do? Okay.
We don't see the four.
Right outside, yeah. You don't need to go about me. If you wanna eat them later, yeah.
I think let's stop that.
Oh, you have a souvenir today?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I grab a sandwich when we?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I have.